Howdy, guys. Welcome to Cliff Notes and welcome to night number 5 of Big Brother Season 24's overnight feed recaps. I gotta say, these house guests never sleep. I don't know how they're doing it. As I record this, there are still a couple of people up. They truly don't ever sleep. But I'm going to give you all the key pertinent conversations that took place throughout the evening. Before we do that, just as a real quick refresher, we've got Daniel as the HOH. We have right now Michael and Terrence on the block. Michael won veto over the weekend, though. We should have the veto ceremony today. I think Michael will probably use the veto on himself, pull himself off the block. Daniel spent a lot of time agonizing over what he's going to do for renomination. It's leaning right now, and we'll talk about it through the conversations, but it's leaning right now that the renom almost certainly is going to be Taylor, and Taylor is going to be the target. It doesn't really seem like anyone wants to send Terrence home this week. Now, next week may be a different discussion, and we'll talk about that as well. So, veto ceremony a little bit later today, and we'll have a lot more information about that. So, they got the backyard. Once the backyard opens up, sometimes you have a little less game talk, and we saw just a lot of casual conversations, certainly, but we did have some key, some pertinent conversations to have as well. Excuse me. So let's get right into it. What happened yesterday? We'll take it from, say, the Sunday night episode onwards. We've got, it's one of the first conversations, Daniel and Nicole and Amira in the backyard talking about next week. Daniel is feeling pretty comfortable. He thinks that he's probably safe with everyone except maybe Michael next week. If Michael gets HOH, Michael may put him up as punishment for being put on the block this week. But Nicole is saying, yeah, maybe, but I'm not really sure that Michael wants to win HOH this week since he just got through winning veto. And that's kind of true. We hear later Michael saying he would just soon maybe not win it. He talks to Brittany saying he'd probably prefer that she won it instead. So Daniel's feeling pretty comfortable that he is going to survive with minimal blood on his hands as we go into week 2 of the season. We do have, again, this is Daniel, Nicole, and Amira. And as they're talking about Michael and possibility of winning, there is a little bit of a discussion. Could they potentially work with Michael? And now we've seen Daniel already really worried about the fact that Michael's another super fan and that maybe he just soon have him out the door. But the conversation does take place about could they bring in Michael in with the 3 of them as well. I saw something a little interesting. We've got Joseph in the bathroom talking to Indy, and he's just giving her some socializing tips. He's talking to her about maybe pulling back a little bit, trying to fit in just a little bit better, saying if you become a have-not, don't gripe about it, just kind of accept it. No one's really going to appreciate it if you do a bunch of arguing and griping and everything else. And just giving her kind of a pep talk. And later we see Monty giving her a pep talk as well. And she talks a little bit about being sad and everything. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if maybe she got word that her name had been floated up there as a possible renom, or she just isn't quite feeling the vibe and suspects that she could be renominated. But it seems like Indy was kind of having not a great day yesterday. But she had a couple of guys come in, give her pep talks, and talk about it a little bit. Indy does say, I think it's to Joseph, that she says, look, you and Monty are the 2 people that I'm tightest with in this house right now. And so, yeah, these 3 are kind of working together a little bit. We had a lot of general conversation as a big group in the backyard. While Pooch was fixing dinner, looks like Terrence was helping as well. I got to say, while Pooch was fixing, it looks pretty good. We know that Nicole is a professional chef. I think these people are going to do pretty well in terms of eating this year. I was a little bit surprised that they weren't eating as a big group for dinner. Seems like my season, we had a lot of common meals. It looked like a lot of people are kind of fixing their own meals still at this point in time. I don't know if they'll be having Taco Tuesday at all. I guess we're going to find out here in a couple of days, right? All right, we've got Monty and Kyle in the bathroom talking about Taylor. Again, it seems like Taylor is still probably the target, and the house is pretty much all on board with sending her out the door this week. Monty's talking to Kyle saying, look, it happened so fast. I didn't really have time to check with the alliance. And he's talking about this lie that he says that Taylor told about Paloma wanting to get the strong guys, get Monty out of the house. He said, look, it happened so fast. I didn't really have time to check with the alliance. He's talking about the Mamba Alliance, the group of 6, 3 guys, 3 girls. He said he just had to call her out for the lie that she was throwing out there. And he's talking about it. He says, I just don't know why it makes sense that Taylor would try to create a target in Paloma, try to create a target of Paloma for me when Paloma's not even eligible to be on the block this week. So he's not really sure, not understanding why Taylor maybe did it. Talk about that in a second. We've got Monty continuing to talk to Alyssa, and Kyle. Alyssa had come in as well. And he's saying, look, I can't put up Daniel next week because I promised I wouldn't. Now, remember, Daniel at one point had said that he would consider putting Monty up, but he's worried if it didn't work, that then Monty would be coming after him. So these two are both kind of looking at each other. But he's saying, I can't put up Daniel next week. I promised it. But he thinks that Michael probably would. And so he's thinking maybe a Michael HOH victory wouldn't be a bad deal. He wants Daniel out. He just doesn't want to have the blood on his hands. Alyssa is talking about this Mambo alliance that they've got. And she's saying, look, the cookout was the very first 6-person alliance that made it all the way to the end. We could be the second. The Mamba could go down in history as being the second that stays solid all the way to the final 6. If I'm betting, I'm putting my money on Mamba not being around by the time we get to final 6. All right, we've got Monty and Kyle talking a little bit, and they're saying, this is, I think, still in the bathroom. They're talking about Pooch and Turner and saying, look, these guys could be targets next week. They're kind of in a few groups here and there and all that, but they're tied with each other, and we could probably get them out with minimal blood. We've got Nicole and Amira in the bedroom talking to Jetson's bedroom. Nicole is saying that she and Daniel and Amira need to figure out who they want to work with, who else they want to work with. And Nicole mentions that she'd like to maybe work with Paloma and Alyssa. Remember, we've got this girls alliance. So we've already kind of have Amira working with Alyssa and Paloma. Nicole doesn't know that. So Nicole's saying, yeah, maybe the three of us could also get Paloma and Alyssa in with the alliance. She mentions that maybe we could bring in Pooch as well. And Amira immediately says, I don't know. He kind of scares me. I'm not so sure about Pooch. But they both talk about the fact that they really feel cool with all of the girls in the house. Well, Nicole's not quite as tight with the girls as the others perhaps are. But I don't think this girls' alliance is going to last for very long anyway. But we also have Mira talking about that she talked to Pooch, and he said that he really wants to win HOH, and if he did, that he would go for Indy. That would be his top target. All right, we've got Paloma and Alyssa talking in the storage room. All right, now this is kind of interesting strategy. I don't know. Paloma is never at a loss for words. She claims that she had a sore throat, could barely talk. I didn't notice it. Seems like she was doing plenty of talking again yesterday. But Paloma's talking to Alyssa and saying, look, Alyssa, after I win the money, I'm going to invest in your business. I know that you're passionate about interior design. I'm going to invest in your business. I'm going to invest in everyone else's business. The Big Brother rules say you can't promise to split money as some kind of an agreement in the Big Brother house. And seems like she's skirting those rules a little bit, talking about that when I win, I'm going to share all that money with all of y'all guys. She told Monty the whole thing earlier. She mentions it again a little bit later. Paloma is very confident about her position in this game. Paloma is getting just a little bit ahead of herself. We haven't even sent a single person home in this game. Paloma's already talking about what she's going to do with all the money. And here's the thing. I think she believes it. I mean, you got to be confident to play the game, but I truly think that Paloma has already figured out that she's going to win the game, and she's already writing the checks based on her increased bank account. She may be in for a bit of a surprise on it. It's not as easy as Paloma thinks. All right, we've got Amira and Nicole. I just laugh. I can see why Paloma got cast in the season. All right, we've got Amira, Nicole, Daniel in the bedroom. They've got a final 6 of the 3 of them. So a final 6 being discussed of Amira, Nicole, Daniel, maybe Pooch, maybe Turner, and then one of the girls. And I don't know that they ever settled on that. It's not an established alliance. It's just Nicole and Daniel trying to figure out who else they can bring in to be with those 2 tight people working together. But later, after Daniel leaves, we got Nicole and Amira both saying, the 3 of us I'm okay with, but I'm a little bit worried about extending this out from 3 to 6 and who we would bring in and how much we can trust them and everything else. So Daniel has this idea of a big alliance. The two women thinking maybe three's a better one to work with for right now. All right, we got Daniel and Michael talking game in the HOH room. Michael finally got his conversation with Daniel. He's trying to have a little bit more with it. It's interesting. Michael understands this game, and not just the game, but everything that Big Brother is. And he's talking a little bit about this idea of putting Taylor up and saying, look, I'm just a little bit worried about the optics of now Taylor being on the block next to Terrence, and how people are going to judge that outside the Big Brother house and all. And Daniel responds as, yeah, I know, I get it. I'm aware of that. He says, but that's why I felt so good when Monty approached me. Monty's the strong Black man who opened up to me and expressed worry about, I expressed worry about the situation that's gonna, if I nominate Taylor, and that but Monty says he understands it. It has to be done. It doesn't have to do with skin color. And so Daniel's saying, when Monty's telling me that, I feel better about it. And so he feels like he understands. There's plenty of people inside this house that understand the optics of what everything's going to look like. But Daniel feels, especially with getting kind of the approval from Monty, that he should be able to go ahead and do this. Daniel's also saying that, look, Taylor was the number one pick in this house. Everyone was on board with getting Taylor out. Before this whole blow up with Paloma and whether Taylor told a lie or anything, he said before all that happened, everyone already was ready to get Taylor out. It's what the house wants. It doesn't have anything to do except that the house wants her out. We'll see. Paloma is telling Amira. Paloma's telling Amira that she's using a chessboard, and we see her with this chessboard later to represent the Big Brother game. And she's already figured out the checkmate. She's already figured out the chess master. She's figured out the 50 or 60 moves that it's going to take to get to checkmate in the Big Brother game. She says at this point, it's just a matter of playing the game out, but I've already figured out the checkmate. Later, she tells Amira and Jasmine that they should keep Indy as a floater. They're in the kitchen talking about who they should keep, who they should get rid of. Amira and Jasmine want Indy gone as the next woman after Taylor. They really want her gone. They think that she's a stronger player than she's letting on. But Paloma's saying, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we keep Indy. She's a floater. We can maybe use her a little bit and go after some of these other people instead. So we'll see how they work that out. All right, we've got Daniel and Paloma talking up in the HOH room. Paloma is saying, this is just the Paloma show. Paloma is saying, look, this season, this is a new Big Brother game. This is a Big Brother game without hostility. Well, but I'm not sure the rest of us see it quite like that. But she said this is a new Big Brother game without hostility. Nothing but peace and love and Muhammad Gandhi. Yeah, those are her words, not mine. She catches herself a little and says, I don't think it's Muhammad Gandhi. Man, you're combining a few different names there at Paloma. And she and Daniel laugh about that a little bit. They're talking about Taylor and the whole event from last night. She's retelling the story to Daniel about what happened. And so we go through that. Eventually, then we also have Paloma talking about that she's going to, if she was to get HOH, well, even if not, she'll try to convince whoever it is. But she wants Terrence gone next week, for Terrence to be on the block and Michael to go up as a pawn. So just replicate the block that we had this week. But she wants Terrence gone as opposed to Michael. But she also mentions that Indy could be an option as well. And then she finally kind of finishes up by saying, look, I know it's going to look kind of bad to put up or to send out Terrence right after Taylor. But it's just a game. It doesn't have anything to do except with strategy itself. I get what she's saying, but there's a lot more to Big Brother than just the strategy. You got to look at everything, unfortunately, or fortunately. All right, we've got later Paloma talking to herself. And again, she's using this chessboard for strategy. She's using the chessboard, but I only see her moving one piece every time I watch this. So she's got all the moves already figured out in her head, I guess. She's saying that she needs to convince people to send out Terrence. That's her job going forward, is to really make sure the target is on Terrence going forward. All right, later we got almost everyone upstairs in the lounge with non-game talk. They're passing around some kind of emery board, and you can talk as you go through relationships, things like that. We've got Daniel and Joseph in the HOH room. Joseph is suggesting to Daniel, saying, "Look, when you put up Taylor, maybe you tell her that she's going up because she hasn't talked game with you as much as the other people. Maybe if you don't want to talk about this stuff with Paloma and everything, you've got to have some kind of reason. So maybe just say that she hadn't talked enough game." And he says, "Whatever you do, kind of let the rest of us know what your excuse, your reason is going to be, and we'll try to back it up as well. We'll be a united front." So they talk about that a little bit. We've got Nicole and Amira in the bedroom. Amira is saying that Turner was talking about putting either Michael or Terrence right back on the block, which is similar to what we heard Paloma saying, and saying that Nicole and Amira are both saying, we don't want Terrence or Michael to go back on the block. Nicole's saying neither one of those are a threat to me. I don't have beef with either one of them. Why should we want the two of them to go back on the block? So they've agreed that's not the way they need to go. But again, that's what Turner wants. It sounds like that's what Paloma wants as well. All right, we've got Daniel and Taylor in the HOH room. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously, Taylor's a target of the house right now, and now she's up talking to the HOH. Taylor's trying to play the game. She's trying to establish contacts. Unfortunately, now that she's been identified as a target, I went through it myself, where suddenly people aren't talking to you. They're looking the other way when you walk into a room. It's difficult at this point in time to really fully develop the relationship, but she's trying, and she's out there talking to Daniel as part of it. And she's saying she's stressed, that she's recognizing that people are leaving the room once she walks in. She says, I walk in, they finish whatever conversation they're having, and then they all leave, and it's just me. It's a very isolated feeling, and you can detect that when you're in the house. Daniel is telling her that, look, everyone should be playing their social game by now. He's kind of building this foundation for what he's going to call her out on when he nominates, saying everyone should be playing the social game. And I'm sure today at the nomination he's going to say, but Taylor, you weren't really playing much of a social game. He says he doesn't want Indy winning the next HOH. He's worried about Michael, but apparently he's a little bit worried about Indy as well. But after that conversation, later Daniel is talking to the camera and saying, man, Taylor has to go home. He says, I think he said something like her social game is whack, but that he felt like she asked very good questions, that he had better answers, but she asked very good questions. He has a feeling that maybe she's a super fan, and he's ready to send her out the door. So Taylor had the conversation. Doesn't seem like Daniel's changed his mind at this point in time. All right, we got Monty telling Daniel that he'll back him up in nominating Taylor. And Daniel responding, saying, Taylor said mean comments. I heard later that she said, if I did this, I was stupid for doing it. And, so they're talking about a little bit about that. Monty responds saying, I just hope everyone understands this doesn't have anything to do with skin color. I really think the fact that Monty's on board with this is almost a green light for Daniel to proceed with putting Taylor up. If it wasn't for that, I think the optics maybe would be such that Daniel would be looking at other options. But with Monty on board, it seems like this is a plan that's going to go forward. All right, we've got Monty talking to Amira and Jasmine, and he's wondering. He said, why would Taylor have ever told me that Paloma was targeting the guys? I don't understand why she would do that, since Paloma's safe this week and everything else. And Amira throws out there, says, look, maybe she was just trying to tighten her relationship with you, Monty. Maybe she was trying to help you out by saying this, as opposed to any devious thing. And I think that's the case. I mean, Taylor thought that Monty needed to be careful, and so she told him that. And Monty just took it the wrong way. Monty says he asked Taylor the next day about it, and Taylor again said Monty needs to be careful with Paloma. So yeah, I kind of agree with Amir. I think it was I think Taylor didn't have any vindictive plans in saying it to Monty, but that's not the way it was received. Jasmine doesn't want people. This is interesting. Jasmine mentioned she doesn't want people thinking that the black people in the house are grouping up with each other. And Amira says, yeah, I was worried about that coming in, which makes it, is some of what we're seeing right now repercussions or a result of the success of the Cookout Alliance last season, that everyone, all these house guests watched season 23. They all know what happened to the cookout. Are people going out of their way to not present themselves as a Cookout Alliance? And maybe that's affecting some of the decisions and the directions that some of these people are heading. It sounds like it's a possibility. All right, we've got Jasmine eventually leave, so it's just Monty and Amira in talking at that point. Monty's talking about, again, that maybe if Michael wins the HOH, he could put up Daniel. I'd be fine with that. And then Amira was talking a little bit about Paloma, and she said, I think Paloma and Alyssa probably have a final two. Yeah, they absolutely do have a final two. We've got Monty hinting a little bit at a final two with Amira. That never really said we're going to do it, but these two are looking like they're a little bit tighter and certainly willing to work with each other. Amira is suggesting that because race has now become a topic in some of the decisions being made, that because of that, she thinks going forward, Michael may be an easier nomination than Terrence, say for next week's HOH going forward. It's interesting that so much comes into play when these decisions are being made. They are going to ask Paloma if she wants to win HOH because they heard conflicting whether she did or didn't. She gave different answers, so they're going to check on that. Monty is talking about Daniel, that Daniel's very emotional because if he puts up Taylor, it's going to mean that he has two black people on the block. And so Monty wants to talk to him and again reassure him that it's okay. It doesn't have anything to do with skin color and such. We do have, this is interesting, Monty has told Amira about the Guys Alliance, the Oasis. He's mentioned it to her. So that tells me Monty feels pretty comfortable talking to Amira, that he feels pretty tight with her because he's starting to give out information. Remember, information is golden in the Big Brother house. But he also, in addition to that, is talking about Pooch and Turner and saying he's a little bit worried about them. They're tight with each other, and he doesn't know that they're as solid as they should be with anyone else. All right, we got Nicole. We got Nicole talking to Daniel and also saying this isn't a skin color issue. Hear a little bit of a theme here. I mean, obviously everyone in this house understands the optics of what we as a viewer are seeing. They're seeing it inside the house as well. It certainly is coming into consideration, but you've got a lot of people telling Daniel it doesn't have anything to do with that. You're good. Just stay the past that. So Nicole is telling Daniel that, and she's saying, "Look, Taylor's going up just because no one likes her." She says, "Myself, Alyssa, and Terrence, we like her, but we're really the only ones in the house. Everyone else is ready to see her gone. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact anything other than the fact that most people just don't like her in the house." All right, we got Lisa and Amira talking together. Amira has now told Alyssa about the Guys Alliance. There's no secret that's a secret once you tell someone else in this game. So Amira has told Alyssa about the Guys Alliance. Alyssa's talking about going forward that she would like to put up Terrence in a pond. She's ready to send Terrence home as well. So again, this is Alyssa and Paloma both talking about getting Terrence out next. Amira's saying that she'd just soon backdoor Pooch or Turner, that those are her primary targets. All right, we're going to kick through the rest of this pretty quick. We've got Brittany and Michael. Pretty long conversation in the have not room. These two are working, seems like they're working pretty well together, but they're talking about potential duos that have existed in the house. They talk about Pooch and Turner, Paloma and Monty, Daniel and Nicole, Alyssa and Jasmine, and Brittany saying, look, there's the two of us, but who else can we team up with? Could we get another strong duo and team up with them? And she mentions Cliff and Nicole, how we teamed up with Mickey and Holly. And she's saying, could we do something like Cliff and Nicole did, attach herself to someone else, get a little bit further in the game? And she specifically mentions maybe we could tag up with Danny and Nicole and have a group of four working together. And Michael says, yeah, that's fine, except I'm just not sure. I just got through talking to Michael, got through talking to Daniel. I'm not really sure that Daniel would necessarily want to work with me. I just don't get the vibe on that. So Brittany is at that point saying, well, maybe we could get Kyle. Kyle seems like he maybe could be someone we could pull in and work with him instead. And she mentioned, she said, here's the key. We want to be seen as weak, but not seen as expendable. That's a fine edge there to follow, but that's what she wants to do. I'm really excited to see this duo if they can work together. Two super fans. They know Michael's a super fan. He doesn't realize that Brittany's a super fan, but two super fans who should understand the game pretty well. I'm curious to see what they do going forward. But Michael also mentions trying to find other people to pull in. He says, look, if Pooch was out of the game, we could probably get Turner to join up with us as well. So, yeah, sometimes you eliminate someone's ride or die, and it makes them a free agent that you can grab hold of. So they're having a little bit of a conversation with that. Now, here's the rub. As tight as those two seem, we then have Michael and Paloma in the bathroom talking to each other. And Michael is telling Paloma, says, look, I just talked to Brittany, and I'm really thinking that Brittany could be my buddy in this Mamba alliance that you've got. And remember that Paloma is trying to model this Mambo alliance, Mamba. She's trying to model a Mamba alliance just like the Cookout, where you had 6 core members. Each member had their own little buddy with them that was expendable, but they got information and everything else. And so Michael's saying, look, Brittany could be my buddy, which tells me Michael's maybe not as sold on a Brittany-Michael duo as Brittany thinks he is. He said, I could do that. And at first, Paloma says, oh, no, she's already in this girls kind of fake alliance thing, so you need to get a guy. But then as she thinks about it, she says, no, actually, that would probably work. Well, all right, there's your buddy, Michael. You're set. So Paloma's got it all figured out. We've got Michael, Paloma, Amira, and Monty all in the backyard talking. Michael's talking about putting up now Pooch and Turner if he was to win HOH. He had told Brittany earlier, he said, I don't want to win it. I'd like for you to win it. I'd just soon not win it. But in the backyard, he's saying if he did win it, he'd probably put up Pooch and Turner. And remember, Michael, Paloma, Amira, and Monty are all part of the Mamba alliance. So they're sharing some information. Michael's saying he'd put up Pooch and Turner. And Paloma jumps in and says, yeah, that's fine. I'm in a fake alliance with Pooch and Turner, so I've got some ends with them and everything else. But, we'll talk about it if that happens. But Paloma's also confirming now that she does not want to win HOH. She don't want to have any blood on her hands. In fact, she even says something like, I don't want to win HOH. I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to stay liking me. It doesn't do me any good to win HOH. Well, sometimes you need to win HOH to protect your gameplay and everything else. But Paloma's very much thinking that she's got all figured out and she'll let everyone else win the HOHs, that everyone will just continue to like Paloma because she won't be the one actually pulling the trigger. We'll see how that works out. Amira talks about the fact that she's in alliance with everyone but Joseph. I feel like other than Terrence and Taylor, I feel like everyone is in an alliance with everyone else at this point in time. Seems like it. But yeah, so Amira's saying everyone but Joseph somehow I'm aligned with. Makes it tough if you're HOH and you have to start putting some people up. Your loyalties quickly get displayed, right? Paloma mentions the fact that she says, I feel like y'all are all my kids. Everyone in here is just my kids. Okay, yeah, well, I can't say I'm surprised to hear that little sentiment. Paloma's very confident in her gameplay. And then finally, we've got another conversation similar to before, where Paloma is saying that when she wins, she'll split the money. She's going to invest it with everyone. Monty's trying to shut it down. He's saying, don't be talking about that. You can't do it. Don't be talking about it. And she's saying, I found a loophole. Once the money's in my account, then it doesn't matter. I can do what I want with it. And Monty's saying, just stop with that conversation. She'll stop with that conversation if she doesn't have a feeling that there'll be a little visit in the diary room about what you can and can't promise or commit to or pledge or anything else while you're in the house. Kind of goes against the rules. So I imagine those conversations will stop. All right. At that point, there was still a little bit going on here and there. Some of the guys talking in the have not room. There was nothing so relevant that it was worth continuing on. And once the sun starts coming up, I got to shut it down. So there you have it, guys. The main thing going forward today should be the not veto ceremony. Michael will pull himself off. Taylor should go up unless something strange happens. I fully expect that Taylor will be evicted probably by unanimous vote come Thursday. Of course, we've got this whole twist with the backstage girls and all that, so we don't know how that'll come into play. But that twist aside, I think Taylor is going home. We'll see how she responds to it. I don't think she's going to be as surprised as some people feel like she's going to be. She sees the writing on the wall. She's knowing that something different is going on, and we'll see what happens. I hope there's some honesty with people explaining to her what's going on, so she has a chance to defend herself and argue counterclaims, everything else, as opposed to her potentially having to spend the next few days just with her hands in the air wondering what in the heck led to this. I hope she gets a chance to explain herself and defend herself and take care of business. But we'll see. All right, guys, I'll have a lot more information tomorrow once we have this veto ceremony. We'll see how it all pans out. Until then, y'all have a fantastic Monday. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.